In the pursuit of profit and revenue, businesses are often caught in ethical dilemmas. While some choose to play by the rules and stick to their principles, others easily fall prey to temptation and greed. The weakness of human nature can cause businesses to engage in corrupt acts. Corruption is receiving, asking for, or giving any gratification to induce a person to do a favor with a corrupt intent. Corruption can have far-reaching consequences on our society. If allowed to take root, it can lead to economic repercussions such as loss of investor confidence. It can also affect our daily lives by impeding our access to basic and essential services. Singapore thus maintains a tough stance against corruption, and any business that engages in corrupt practices will find themselves facing the full brunt of the law. One such company is Freshness Seafood, a seafood supplier owned by Tan Kin Yan. In 2006, Tan befriended 19 head chefs from prominent Chinese restaurants. These chefs were responsible for deciding on the suppliers for their respective restaurants. At the time, it seemed that it was industry practice for chefs to receive commissions when they purchased products from seafood suppliers. Over the next 3 years, Tan gave out almost $1 million to these chefs based on a percentage of the total value of seafood products ordered from him. In return, the chefs would continue to place their seafood orders with Tan's company. It seemed like a norm in this industry. However, this was not a norm or a common practice, but corruption, and Tan was eventually arrested for the offense. He was charged with corruption and sentenced to 18 months imprisonment. The chefs involved were also charged and received fines or jail terms. From top chefs to convicts, corruption destroyed the reputation of these individuals and put an end to their promising careers. But more importantly, corruption can also destroy Singapore's hard-earned reputation as a clean nation, a reputation that we have collectively built up over the years and which has enabled Singapore to become a global hub for finance and business. One such company that tarnished the Singapore brand through its actions is Golden Manufacturing Group, a supplier for US-based technology firm Hamilton Inc. In 2006, Chan Guan-heng, then managing director of Golden Manufacturing, met with Patrick Deno, a global supply manager from Hamilton Inc., who had come to Singapore to assess the company. At the time, the pair struck a deal for Deno to provide confidential information about Hamilton's upcoming projects, so that Golden Manufacturing could secure the contracts. In return, Deno would receive kickbacks for all the projects awarded to the company. Over the next 2 years, Deno received more than $387,000 from the agreement, delivered to him by Chan's brother-in-law and sales director of Golden Manufacturing, Amos Tan. Besides Golden Manufacturing, Tan had also received payments from 2 other Singaporean companies to help them advance their business interests with Hamilton. After Tan left the company, Chan began to deliver the money to Deno personally. However, this arrangement was short-lived as Chan was soon investigated and charged with multiple counts of corruption, receiving a prison sentence of 9 months. Tan was also sentenced to imprisonment of 12 months and ordered to pay a penalty of more than $280,000, while Patrick Deno was sentenced in the US federal court to 1 year imprisonment and ordered to pay $4.5 million fine in restitution for wire fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. Corruption can happen anywhere, in any industry, and involve anyone. In order to prevent corruption from taking root, all of us must play our part in standing firm against corruption and report any acts or suspicious acts of corrupt practices to the Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau, or CPIB. CPIB is the sole agency responsible for the investigation of corruption offences in Singapore. If you come across any acts of corrupt practices, you can make a report in person with the CPIB officer on duty. Alternatively, you can also call, send an email, lodge a complaint online at the CPIB website, mail a letter, or send a fax to lodge your complaint. Investigation will then commence if the complaint contains enough information that points to the possibility of corruption. Once sufficient evidence is gathered, the offenders, both givers and receivers, will be brought to court and charged with corruption. If found guilty, both parties face up to 5 years jail, a $100,000 fine, or both for each count of corruption. In the competitive world of business, it is important for companies to take steps to minimize the risk of corruption within their own organizations. For a start, they can refer to guidebooks and resources. Having good anti-corruption systems and process in place will help to boost a company's reputation and make it more attractive to its potential clients. Each of us must continue to do our part and stamp out corruption. In order for Singapore to maintain a conducive place for business and investments, we must ensure good business ethics and practices and a level playing field for all.